dumps, big, massive dumps.
Uh-oh, I'm in trouble.
On the nation, Waldorf Nation. Hey everybody, welcome to the show. It's Friday, TGIF. We got a good show for you. And yes, I am wearing a shirt with my face on it. I know it's kind of weird. It's Jeffception. Just go with it, okay? By the way, if you want one of these with my ugly ass mug on it, link in the chat. Just saying, everything goes to help the show. But anyway, like I said, we got some Cash Friday going on here. And we're going to actually bring you a little bit of good news. What is going on here? What am I doing? What is going on here? No, okay. It is good news, but also we're going to talk about some bad news. So it should be interesting. We're going to talk about Donald Trump returning to his business empire. I know some of you have yet to get the memo that Donald Trump did indeed lose the election and is no longer in power, which means he has gone back to becoming, to being a civilian businessman. And it looks as though the future of that business not going well. We're going to talk about that. Then we got the QShaman, who was not happy about his lack of a pardon. We got Kpop stans to the rescue. And then we're going to talk a little bit about how going back to normal might not be a good thing in some respects. And of course, I'm gonna talk a little bit about foreign policy. Not good. And then we're going to shift over, and I'm actually going to give the Democrats some credit for a new child tax credit, which is kind of awesome. So we're going to talk about that. So, I'm going to try to do my best to be, fair and even with my criticism, as well as giving out praise where credit is due. I'm going to try to do that to give you the most, the most fair, honest commentary that I can, not just for the sake of being fair or whatever, both sides bullshit. No, we don't do that here in the show, but I am going to be fair and not just criticize people, and to do rage posts and everything like that. Oh, no, we'll save the anger for where it's really necessary, okay? And both the Democrats and Republicans when it's needed, right? When it is actually fair to do so. But I'm going to try to give you the news and my perspective on the news. That's what we do here in the show. With that said, please like and share the stream if you haven't already. I do have one little piece of, let's see, unfinished business from yesterday. I just wanted to thank regular Mole Rat Dragon for the bits yesterday, for the cheer over on Twitch. Yes, we got a Twitch channel. It's actually growing quite a bit. It's kind of awesome. So if you like the Twitch platform, you can follow us there. You can use your free Amazon Prime subscription to help the show. Put a little Bezos money in my pocket. Because goodness knows we don't actually need it, or he don't actually need it. We do. So, all right. Anyway, that is funny. Let me look that up actually. So there's a clip going around of Chuck Schumer doing the same thing that I did the other day, talking about erections. So I'm just saying.
Masturbate all day long.
Anyway, all right. Well, we're gonna get to that clip because that's funny. I want to, let's see. I want to show that, and I also want to let you listen to what I said. If you missed that, how can we get back to any sense of normalcy until this virus is eliminated? Yes, that's a great point. We can't. Okay, so that is an excellent point. I meant like normalcy in when it comes to like foreign policy and governmental stuff. But yes, no, you're absolutely right on that. Let's see. Here we go.
There will be.
All right. let me go back and show you this here. So let's open this up. And we're gonna go to that. So this is good. This is real good. This was on the House or the Senate floor, and Chuck Schumer was talking about the insurrection. Okay, and again, here's what happened.
There will be a trial, and when that trial ends,
There's some whores in this house.
silent.
Don't you want to please me?
All right, are we back? Are we back? Are we back? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Yes, we appear to be back. I've been having internet issues like since last night, so we have Spectrum here where I'm at, and you know, it kind of sucks a little bit. All right, anyway, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's go into the first story of the day. Let's Anna Kasparian, because oh my god. yeah. All right.
Amazing.
All right. Let's move on. I'm glad I didn't get into the actual stories. That would have been disastrous. Politely. All right. Former President Donald Trump has returned to life as a businessman following his dumpster fire for presidency. And of course, it's no surprise to find out that those same businesses are also in a bit of a dumpster fire. So now it's almost as if he's got the, the reverse Midas touch. I've talked about that, where instead of turning things to gold, he turns everything into crap.
Big, massive dumps.
Okay. So anyway, financial disclosure forms show exactly how much crap he is walking back into, and it's not fun. Apparently, his hotels, resorts, and other properties have lost lots and lots of money as a result of the pandemic. In fact, those properties have lost more than $120 million in revenue last year as the pandemic has forced long-term closures and has kept customers home. So when you think about that, why do you think that he wanted to open up the country immediately? Not do any lockdowns, Open it up. Open it up. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We got to keep this stuff open. Well, we all know the hospitality industry, which is what hotels are, generally, and restaurants as well. They've been hit really, really hard by this pandemic. Okay, there's no doubt about that. Now, had we had a good lockdown and had been able to, take the, mask wearing seriously and do everything that we needed to do when it comes to the pandemic, then we would actually be almost over the pandemic, basically. We would at least be able to open up halfway or quarter way, whatever, restaurants, and those losses wouldn't have been as severe. Okay? And yes, a lot of businesses have suffered as a result of the pandemic. Very, very true. And so now his losses ended up being worse in the places where Donald Trump could least afford it. For example, his Washington hotel, which has a $170 million loan outstanding, saw revenue drop about 60%. His Derail resort in Miami, also carrying a huge debt load, a big load, saw a 44% drop. And on Thursday, one of its banks and one of its law firms said that they would also cut ties with the Trump organization. So now that's not a result of the pandemic. So there are legitimate issues when it comes to, hey man, look, we lost revenue because of the pandemic, because people aren't going to restaurants, because people have had to stay home. Totally understandable. But then there's also the self-inflicted stuff. That is the stuff where you cannot blame it on the pandemic, where you can blame it on the things that you have done. Massive dumps of revenue. Come on.
Big, massive dumps.
Okay. I got to get that out of my system. I got to get the big, massive dumps out. All right. Anyway. Serious story, guys. Serious story. All right. So, again, these other problems, they're the result of Trump basically being Trump. In fact, the Washington Post reports that these are just the latest in the string of vendors and customers who had severed their relationship with the company, with the Trump organization, after January 6th. That is, of course, the January 6th insurrection. These riots where these violent insurrectionists attacked the U.S. Capitol building and occupied it for a short time. And so this was after Trump had addressed them, incited them at a rally. So now Bert Eli, a banking consultant who has testified before Congress on financial matters, says this, quote, "He faces some very serious problems that have been building in recent years, and I think are going to come to a head now that he's left office." Overall, Donald Trump listed specific revenue figures for 47 of his different companies, including his golf clubs, hotels, and New York City park properties. Combined revenue at his companies declined more than 35% last year, according to a Washington Post analysis. Combined with the losses, Donald Trump faces more than $400 million in outstanding loans, including more than $290 million on Derail and DC hotels. So all that. Along with that, Trump's company has lost key partners, including other banks and lawyers that had stuck through him through the lowest points of Trump's political career. But of course, with Trump, you just had to keep going lower. Low wasn't bad enough. It's like what is it? I forget now, where there's this game where you have to go under the bar. You have to go under the bar. And he just keeps going lower. He just keeps going under that bar. And at some point, he went under the bar. Now, in fact, a spokesperson for Bank United, who's a Florida-based bank that just closed their accounts, quote, "We no longer have any depository relationship with him," meaning Trump. And by the way, that is where Trump had kept more than $5 million in money market accounts. On Thursday, Bank United said it was closing those, and it declined to say why. Likely because, of course, he's toxic. His brand is toxic. The decision also meant that since the attack on the Capitol, Trump has lost 3 of the 4 banks that held his largest deposits, or dumps.
Dumps.
Okay, anyway. I know, I can't help myself. Signature Bank, a professional bank, cut their ties earlier this month. The 4th bank, Capital One, has declined to comment. Also Thursday, Trump had lost one of his best-known law firms, Morgan Lewis, which had represented Trump on tax issues since before he ran for office. So, all right. One Morgan Lewis partner, Sherry Dillon, had actually become a well-known defender of President Trump. But on Thursday, the firm said that relationship was also ending. We have had a limited representation of the Trump Organization and Donald Trump in tax-related matters. This is somebody who had actually appeared alongside of Donald Trump during hearings. Quote, for those matters not allegedly concluded, we are transitioning as appropriate to other counsel. Morgan Lewis spokeswoman Emily Carhart said in an email, she declined to give a reason, but of course, we know the reason. Dillon was involved in the Trump Organization's handling of an estate called Seven Springs in suburban New York, where the company obtained a $21 million tax break through something called a conservation easement, essentially a promise not to develop some of that land in exchange for a tax benefit. Now Trump's dealings with Seven Springs are the focus of two state-level investigations by the Manhattan District Attorney and the New York Attorney General. Interesting. The decision by Morgan Lewis marked at least two law firms that have cut ties with Trump's company since January 6th. The first, Seifert Shaw, announced its decision last week. The third firm, Alston & Bird, also decided to end its relationship with Trump's company as well. In addition, and I've reported this before, Trump has lost two of its real estate brokers, its e-commerce vendor, and the chance to host the 2022 PGA Championship golf tournament. That is something that wounded Trump very, very personally. He took that very personally. He was very, very sad about it. Sad. And its hope of hosting another golf tournament, the British Open, even Turf Island is saying, nope, you are too toxic for us. Sorry. And New York City also said that it would end the Trump Organization's contracts to run a carousel, 2 ice rinks, and a golf course in city parks, contracts that brought the Trump Organization about $18 million back in 2019. Elsewhere, 2 major tenants in Trump's office building on Wall Street, the Girl Scouts of Greater New York and a tuberculosis fighting charity called the TB Alliance, said that they were seeking to leave the building. So they don't even want to be renting in Trump Tower anymore. Wow. You also had a triathlon event pulled out of Trump's Charlotte golf course. In fact, Chuck McAllister, the founder of that event, which was expected to attract a decent number of athletes and over 1,000 spectators, said, quote, it was all on track before the Capitol, but then McAllister had said that the Capitol attack caused sponsors and vendors to pull out, canceling the event, being the second time that event was canceled because another Trump, time where Trump couldn't put his foot, keep his foot out of his mouth. That was when, of course, Charlottesville happened. And afterwards, he called the people, the white supremacists, the Nazis on the Nazi side, quote, very fine people. And of course, this guy, even after that, was like, I don't know, let's go back to Trump. And he got burned again. On that, McAllister said, quote, it's deja vu. It's like Groundhog Day. Honestly, what did you expect? Trump's toxic. He's a toxic person. Why would you want to do business with him? He's ridiculous. In fact, here's what he also said. Quote, he was unsure whether or not he would come back in 2022. The name's toxic. It's toxic to some people. That's never going to change. Yup. I mean, look, here's the thing. Trump had actually a chance to do good things. I mean, he came upon a wave of anti-establishment, populist rhetoric. Okay? I'm going to give you great health care. It's going to be a great plan. It's going to be the best plan. If the guy had adopted Medicare for all, I don't know. That would have made a big difference. That would have actually been him being like, wow, the guy actually is talking about Medicare for all. And of course, he didn't, because he wasn't interested in that. Because it turns out Trump is Trump, and he's just a nasty person. And so it ends up with him, doing things like the Muslim ban, locking children in cages, things like that. Which, by the way, I really hope the Biden administration hops on and gets, actually does something about that. That would be fantastic. Like tick, 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 those children aren't going to let themselves out. So Biden, like do something. I'd appreciate that. And all the other stuff that he's done during his administration that was just absolutely awful, god awful. He didn't have to do that. He could have been a game changer. He could have actually been a populist, but he didn't do that. Nope. Instead, he did all the stuff that he had already done. He went full racist, xenophobic shitbag and fomented an insurrection to stay in power to boot. That's what happens. And at this point, by the way, some of that stuff, the pandemic stuff, was also self-inflicted by him not actually doing what he needed to do to control the pandemic. And so that would have actually helped his businesses as well to do a recovery. Instead, he didn't do any of that. So at this point, I really do believe that this guy is going to be forced into bankruptcy. And that's it. I know it. I feel it in my bones. Okay, this guy, months from now, maybe a year from now, super, super quiet, right? The guy's going to declare bankruptcy. We all know it. We all know it. I mean, come on. And it's not like it's not only because he was a terrible president who made terrible decisions, right, for his businesses, but also the fact that he's just a terrible businessman. The guy's always operated in the red. This would be his 6th or 7th bankruptcy, something like that. I don't know, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, something like that. The guy's been bankrupt so many times. And again, being such a loser, terrible businessman who's going to go on to show once again to the world that he's always been a loser and will always be a loser. All right. I think I'm pretty clear on that. All right, let's move on. Go to QShaman. That's a fun story. It just keeps on developing. And that is like an iconic picture. You know it. All right. Before former President Donald Trump left office, he signed a few pardons. Now those pardons ended up going to grifters, criminals, allies, and those, of course, who could afford to pay off Rudy Giuliani to the tune of about $2 million. But none of that notice went to any of his most fervent supporters, supporters like 33-year-old Capitol rioter Jacob Chansley, better known as the QAnon shaman. So his picture is very, very iconic. Everybody knows the QAnon shaman. I mean, look at it. Okay, anyway. So now QAnon shaman is not doing well today. In fact, he's very, very mad at the president. According to his lawyer, he feels as though the president had misled him into believing that he would end up getting a pardon for playing his role in the Capitol insurrection. In an interview with local news station KSDK, attorney Al Watkins said that Chanley regrets his actions. He's got regrets, and then feels duped by the president's claims that the 2020 election was stolen. So wait, okay, I regret it. I'm sorry. I regret it. I didn't mean it. I just kind of got swept up in the moment. Listening to a fascist. So I just kind of it just happened. I got duped. What are you gonna do? Quote, he regrets very, very much having not just been duped by the president, but by being in a position where he allowed that duping to put him in a position to make decisions he should not have made. Look, duped? Oh yeah, totally duped. Incited? Definitely. Absolutely. So now Watkins is making his case, and understand that this is, Chansley's lawyer, and he's going to try to get, do the best representation that he can to try to shift the blame as far away from Chansley as he can. Understand that that's totally his job, okay? But here's what he's doing. He is pointing to the mountain of false claims made by the president, former president after the election was called for Biden in November, as proof that his client sincerely believed that he was trying to fight what was presented as being a grave injustice towards Donald Trump. Here's what he said, quote, "Let's roll the tape. Let's roll the months of lies and misrepresentations and horrific innuendo and hyperbolic speech by our president designed to inflame, enrage, motivate." Hey, as far as the defense, that's a really good, I think that's going to be a really good defense, because there is that tape. It absolutely exists, and he had been fanning the flames. He also said, "What's really curious is the reality that our president, as a matter of public record, invited these individuals, as president, to walk down to the Capitol with him." And he actually did say that. Let's walk down Pennsylvania Avenue. We got to fight, or else we're not going to have a country anymore. That's exactly what I said, or what he said. And so, I do kind of wonder if this case itself, especially if it ends up getting, maybe chanceling like a reduced sentence or whatever, well, I wonder if it could be used as evidence against Donald Trump in the upcoming impeachment trial, which would be really interesting, because right now you have all these right-wingers, these insurrectionists that are saying, "Oh, no, it wasn't me. It was him. He did it. I was acting on his orders. I really thought that there was voter fraud," because he just kept saying it. He just kept saying it. Well, I mean, that would be a pretty damning indictment of the president, of the former president. But of course, it does go both ways, too. Donald Trump's lawyers could easily say that these people are just blaming Donald Trump because, they want to save their own skin. And, the plausible deniability. It was them. They made me do it. I was not in control of myself. And then that could be a good argument against them for Donald Trump. But at the same time, we know the president incited these people, no doubt. It is a phenomenon called stochastic terrorism. I've given you the definition before. I'll give it to you again. That is defined by the public demonization of a person or a group that results in the incitement of a violent act, which is statistically probable, as in this incitement is eventually going to lead to something, but whose specifics cannot be predicted. We couldn't actually predict that this was going to play out the way that it was going to. Although, to be fair, we did have a lot of warnings as well. That January 6th, this is going to happen. There's going to be something that goes down at the Capitol. We don't know what. And the Capitol Police were not prepared on purpose, by the way. They purposely caught themselves off guard. And it even helped some of these rioters get into the Capitol, took selfies with them, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so, but again, it's that stochastic terrorism. They're going to steal the election. They're going to steal it. If I lose, it's because it's rigged. If Donald Trump loses, it's because they stole it. They couldn't win an election with Sleepy Joe. What are you talking about? He can't fill up an auditorium during a pandemic. Yeah, he can't, because it's a pandemic. Did they never think about that? Is that something that's Democrats actually believe in the virus, so they're not going to go to a campaign rally, for Joe Biden, who's not really going to hold campaign rallies anyway. It's all going to be virtual stuff. And so, and look, not only that, but I didn't really find, and a lot of people I don't think really found Joe Biden especially exciting. This was to me, this was a referendum election against Donald Trump. So, but anyway, they kept still saying that, you got to do something. If you don't fight, we're not going to have a country. You can't, Donald Trump has said, you can't let them do this to me. He didn't explicitly call for them to grab their arms and go and invade the Capitol, except that that's still the result of saying, you got to fight for me. You got to challenge them on January 6th. You got to stop the certification, and you had these congressmen that were also planning to try to stop the certification. and they were in on it as well. But again, that's incitement. There was definitely incitement. Now, here's the other thing, right? The president did say it, did incite people, but like the guys actually did it. They followed through. They didn't have to do this. They didn't have to believe the president on this. They didn't have to storm the Capitol building. They made a conscious decision, whether they were duped with bad information or not. They did the crime, so they're going to have to take some personal responsibility. I guess I mean, when it is with insurrection, I mean, I guess apparently, hey, you're on your own, man, says Donald Trump. I mean, isn't it amazing how this entire thing kind of fell apart? How quickly it is? I mean, Donald Trump just showed everybody exactly who he is. And now for some, that realization is starting to sink in. Now, for others, there's some trolls in my chat, like, no, they haven't gotten it. They're still like, Trump 2024. Donald Trump actually won the election. Look, I'm still seeing posts like QAnoners, some QAnoners. Not all of them, because there's a lot of them who are like, oh my God, I was duped. And I've shown you those posts, and then there's like, you gotta trust the plan. See it actually happened. It happened over the weekend. You see what happened is Donald Trump's what we call a shadow president. See, Donald Trump's actually really the president because he had already arrested the deep state, and they arrested Joe Biden and all the congressmen. But they made a deal. See, they made a deal that Donald Trump is actually going to be in power, but we didn't want to freak out the American people and cause a civil war. So here's what we're going to do, okay? Here's what they're doing. So they actually let Biden and the rest of them continue to walk free. But Donald Trump's got the real power. See, it actually happened, but you didn't actually see it. See, and that's why everything worked out exactly what we were saying. See, that's how it happened. You just didn't know it. The plan, it worked. See, you had to trust the plan. You just had to trust the plan. What? That's insane. But I saw that. I also saw the other conspiracy theory about this was like lifted from Face Off, literally from the movie Face Off. Like, oh, they transferred the faces of Donald Trump and Joe Biden so that Joe Biden is actually not Joe Biden but Donald Trump, and so he's in charge now. And then Donald Trump has got Joe Biden's brain and will be arrested at some point. I don't know. It's so insane. It's crazy. It's crazy. But people, they believe it. They believe it. Some of them do. But others, of course, have gotten the memo and they're like, oh my God. Because again, there were millions of people who were actually believing in QAnon. And they're like, oh my God, no, it didn't, nothing happened. And we just got lied to for years. And some of these people lost their family, their friends because of these conspiracies. And so that realization has finally sunk in. And a lot of it had to do with, of course, nothing happening on January 20th. Completely normal, kind of boring pomp and circumstance, all that stuff. And nothing happened. And then, of course, the fact that on his last day, Donald Trump didn't pardon any of these guys, but instead pardoned people like Steve Bannon, who literally stole all your money. Like, yes, he did the Build the Wall project and pocketed the cash and didn't actually build the wall. And so not all the so-called brave patriots who, actually donated to that cause. No. Steve Bannon. Stealing your money. And so it's obvious that he dropped you and all the rest of you, the QAnoners, and the so-called brave patriots, like a bad habit. And worse, now you've got conservative media circles that are smearing these same people as Antifa. I've seen it. Okay. The people that were at the Capitol, they were actually secret Antifa infiltrators, not actual MAGA people. They're left-wing infiltrators. They're anarchists. They're cuck soy boys who dressed up as Trump supporters. They weren't actually Trump supporters. They're not actually conservatives. What are you talking about? No. They're they're not us. That's not us. Imagine being that person. Imagine who did all this, got in trouble, and then now to the same media outlets that were spreading the lies about Trump and QAnon and all that stuff are now like calling you, posting your picture up and saying, what a cuck soy boy Antifa. It's so ridiculous. How stupid do you feel right now if you're one of those people? I mean, and if you do, if you realize your mistakes, soak it in. Soak it in. And maybe like use that feeling, like do some reflection, reevaluate your life and your choices. And you might want to also reevaluate your political alignment. Because if they were lying to you about this kind of stuff, imagine what other things they've been lying to you about. Just saying. All right. Go to the K-pop stands. K-pop stands coming back on the show. Holy crap. What is this? All right. The K-pop stands on Twitter are back at it again, this time ruining the day of Republicans on Twitter everywhere. As Variety recently reported, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, this is the QAnon congresswoman, all right, she had announced on Thursday that she filed an effort to impeach Joe Biden on the first day. The first day. Yeah, let's impeach Joe Biden. Okay. Okay, so for, one, that's not going to work. You actually have to have the House and the Senate. The House votes to impeach, and then the Senate will run the trial. You don't have either. It's a 50-50 split in the Senate. The Republicans really actually are not in the mood to impeach Joe Biden or to impeach anybody, really. Mitch McConnell himself is actually more in favor of impeaching Donald Trump. So that's really interesting, all right? Secondly, he hasn't actually done anything to warrant impeachment. So unlike Donald Trump, of course, who actually has, he incited a riot at the Capitol, an insurrection. And so, I mean, hey, you kind of have to do crime. And Joe Biden hasn't had any chances to do crime yet. Okay, to be fair. And three, even if you somehow did, and all of this happened, you would just end up with President Kamala Harris. Okay, and say if you somehow were able to impeach and remove Kamala Harris, you would have President Nancy Pelosi. So how dumb are you? How dumb is this? Okay, and the answer is extremely dumb, as well as this woman. And look, she's not just dumb, but she's dangerous. All right. Again, this is a congresswoman. So now Media Matters took a look into some of her past public statements, posts on social media. They're not like they're on Facebook, okay, openly for everyone to see. And so this is not like digging into like her personal private emails or anything like that. No, or private statements or whatever. This is like stuff that she's posted openly. And now I'm going to read this from the Washington Post. Quote, the Facebook conversations highlighted by Media Matters for America this week came nearly 3 years after 14 students and 3 staff members were killed in February 2018 when a former student at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School opened fire on campus. So now what does that have to do with Marjorie Taylor Greene? Well, she's a not only a QAnon conspiracy theorist, but she also is extremely pro-gun. So now, look, I would assume that most of us are pro-Second Amendment. We just think that you should have sensible regulations on guns. Okay, we don't think that everybody should be able to own an RPG or a rocket launcher or a nuclear missile. But when it comes to like a pistol for home defense, okay, I can get behind that. Shotgun, okay. Rifle for hunting, sure. But like, all of the rights that we have in the Constitution do have certain limits. Even the freedom of speech has certain limits. You can't go and incite violence or insurrection with free speech. And you also, can't like overdo it, I guess, on the Second Amendment. And so that's totally fine. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, however, she thinks, no, unfettered gun rights for all, at least all white people. And, I should be able to own whatever gun I want, machine guns, tanks, nuclear missile, whatever, right? Bazooka, flamethrower, all that's totally fine. I even think that in limited circumstances, you should be able to own those weapons. I mean, if you're a collector and something like that, totally fine for me. That said, she wants unfettered gun rights. All right. And also, to go along with the rest of that, to tie this kind of up, she's a Sandy Hook truther. So what does that mean? She thinks that Sandy Hook never happened. So the children that were gunned down, it never happened. Same thing with the children at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. Didn't happen. The actors. Oh, okay. Well, 3 months later, Greene, who was a right-wing media commentator, posted a news article about the Broward County Sheriff's deputy who failed to confront the shooter, according to Media Matters. In the comment section, somebody wrote, quote, "It's called a payoff to keep his mouth shut since it was a false flag planned shooting." Greene replied, quote, "Exactly." So she's basically agreeing that this was a false flag, that it didn't actually happen, and it's all just to try to get gun control or something like that. A month later, Greene had a similar interaction with another Facebook user after she posted a link published by the conspiracy site Gateway Pundit. Remember the founder of the Gateway Pundit apparently shit on the floor somewhere? What is it with right wingers and pro-gun right wingers shitting on things? Why? And it's Caitlin Bennett, right, with her
big massive dumps
everywhere, dumps everywhere. Okay, right wing pro-gun people are taking dumps everywhere, all over the floor, in their pants. It doesn't matter. It's so many dumps, right? Big dumps. And so, all right. But anyway, let's get to the other stuff. Okay, so she published this or reposted this article by the Gateway Pundit or Gateway Pooper, as I like to call him, and it was talking about Hillary Clinton. Now, we're no fans of Hillary Clinton on this show, but we're also fans of the truth. So when Hillary Clinton says and does things that are true, well, then of course you got to give her credit for saying true things. Or at least acknowledge that she is saying true things. Now, one commenter called the Parkland shooting fake, adding that none of the school shootings were real and done by the ones who were supposedly arrested for them. That user also spread conspiracy theories, called the Sandy Hook Massacre, which 20 children and 6 staff members at an elementary school were fatally shot in 2012. Quote, "A staged shooting." Greene liked the post and replied, quote, "That's all true." And finally, in December 2018, Media Matters for America reported that Greene claimed without evidence in a Facebook post that House Speaker Nancy Pelosi viewed school shootings as a convenient means for pushing stricter gun laws. Greene wrote, quote, "I am told that Nancy Pelosi tells Hillary Clinton several times a month that we need another school shooting in order to persuade the public to want strict gun control." Holy crap, that is 100% wrong. That's not just wrong, that's insane. That is mental. This woman is a danger. She does not belong in Congress. She should actually be in a mental ward. If you believe this stuff, then you're mental. You have problems, big problems, okay, tremendous problems. All right, not good at all. It's total. It's Alex Jones stuff. And by the way, speaking of Alex Jones, right? This is the guy who, who was sued by the families of Parkland but it was they're the families of Barton. No, it's the Sandy Hook families for continuously spreading this conspiracy theory that put these people's lives, not only ruined their lives, but also sent dangerous people like Marjorie Taylor Greene to go and harass them. So, I mean, geez. Now, her action, to go full circle here, her action did start a hashtag on Twitter. And this is where the fun begins, okay? This hashtag is Impeach Biden Now. And so here comes our friends, the Kpop stans. The Kpop stans came in and came to the rescue by hijacking that hashtag and just posting all their favorite K-pop stars. I never had an appreciation for K-pop or K-pop stans before, but there's been twice now in the history of Twitter to which K-pop stans have successfully hijacked ridiculous, stupid, right-wing hashtags and turned it fun. Who doesn't love that? Who doesn't love that? Again, this is the second time this has happened. The first time, of course, when the conservatives tried to trend White Lives Matter. K-pop stans said, I don't think so. All right. We're going to take that over, and we're going to turn it into something positive. Screw you right-wingers. K-pop forever. I love it. Once again, K-pop stans, great work. All right, anyway. So let's switch it over to something a little bit more serious. A little bit of criticism towards the Biden administration. President Donald Trump, no longer in office, so former President Donald Trump, there's actually been a lot of reason to celebrate here in America. No longer are we ruled by the grown-up version of the boy king Joffrey Baratheon, and are now returning to a little bit of a state of normalcy, as much as we can, of course, with the mess that Biden has been left by the Trump administration. Over 400,000 dead from the coronavirus, massive recession, et cetera, et cetera. Nonetheless, the Biden administration is doing what they can to try to put out the fires, and get people, vaccinated and help to the American people, which is a good thing. But the return to normalcy will also eventually mean the return of normal U.S. foreign policy. So now I want to be very, very clear here before I get into this, okay? A Biden administration is much better than a Trump administration. I'm not trying to imply otherwise. Okay, so let's be very, very clear about this. The Trump administration has done horrific things, foreign policy-wise, as well as domestic policy-wise. And so that is an important thing. That is an important distinction to make. That said, foreign policy-wise, under Joe Biden, is also not going to be great for people living overseas, especially in places like Latin America and the Middle East. So now, while it is important to point out that things will get better in America under a Joe Biden presidency, in a lot of places it will not, as a result of certain foreign policy decisions that I can't really say are going to be the direct result of the Biden administration, but just back to the normalcy of American foreign policy overall. And Biden will just be a continuation of that. So let me give you some examples here, okay? So now, let's begin with Venezuela. Okay, something that I didn't like to see is the American stance on Venezuela, all right? So now, Democracy Now! Has reported that Tony Blinken, Biden's nominee for Secretary of State, said that the new administration will continue to recognize Juan Guaido as the president of Venezuela rather than their democratically elected president, Nicolas Maduro. So that's a continuation from the Trump administration, who also supported that Venezuelan coup. Guaido is, of course, a right-wing strongman, and like him or not, Maduro is the elected official, elected president, elected leader of Venezuela, and it is running a generally left-wing government. So now, Blinken said that the U.S. would continue to impose harsh sanctions, which have crippled the Venezuelan economy during the middle of a pandemic. In fact, in January 2020, Venezuelan opposition leader Juan Guaido stormed the parliament with a group of lawmakers in an effort to forcefully swear himself in as the country's leader. Now, that, of course, sounds kind of familiar with what Trump attempted to do. Tried to take over the country by force. And the Trump administration had ironically, of course, supported Guaido's efforts to do the same. Guaido ended up getting pushed out by police with tear gas outside of government buildings and failed to consolidate power since the unsuccessful coup attempt in 2019. Now, these ongoing sanctions that have been placed on Venezuela by the Trump administration have crippled the Venezuelan economy. Research from the Center for Economic and Policy Research estimates that as many as 40,000 Venezuelans have died as a result of American sanctions. So what we are doing right now is killing people through sanctions. And it looks as though our foreign policy will continue where Trump left off. Now, again, the Trump administration favored that coup and also supported, there were plans to help and invade Venezuela as well. I'm glad that didn't come to fruition under the Trump administration. The Biden administration, I don't think, would be as bold to do that or to attempt something like that. But at the same time, we're still continuing the Trump administration's, plans of, facing Venezuela the same way that we've always faced other left-wing democratically elected governments in South America. So now, it's disappointing, as I said, but not surprising. Now, we also have the Middle East. All right, so the Middle East, Biden was a supporter of Bush's war on terror. Okay, so that means, more drones, more bombs, things like that. And its continuation under the Obama administration. Now, although, and I'm going to give him big credit for this, and I have given him big credit for this, Biden wants to get the Iran deal back into place. I think that's a great idea. I think we should absolutely do that. I think it was a huge, huge mistake for Trump to rip it up. And in doing so, he may have actually doomed the Biden administration's efforts to try to get back into it. So that's not good. But that said, we're still going to see support for harsh sanctions on Iran, as well as support for the right-wing government of Israel. So the reason that I'm against a lot of sanctions, because it ends up hurting regular people and not the people that are in charge, not the people that are in power. Okay. Now, as far as drone strikes, the Biden administration continues to also be in favor of the war in Yemen, support for Saudi Arabia. Not in so much as a way of President Trump, again, who had more of a personal relationship with Mohammed bin Salman, and may actually also go after, hopefully, bin Salman and the Saudi government for the murder of Jamal Khashoggi. But at the same time, we're still continuing material support for the war in Yemen. And until I see, of course, the Biden administration speak out against that, that's a strike against him in my book. All right. Now, that said, drone strikes, look, the Biden administration is probably going to reel back on drone strikes. That'll be a good thing. He will definitely reverse, I could see him, the policy of the Trump policy of targeting the families of terrorists that haven't done anything wrong, and bring it back to being the Obama drone program. But that's not good either. Obama's drone program was also pretty horrific. It actually led to many innocent people being killed, weddings being bombed, etc. Again, Trump has taken the existing drone program under Obama and made it 3 times worse. Many, many more civilian deaths that were caused by our drone program. And so, again, reeling it back to where it was before is better, but it's also not good. So keep that in mind, all right? And so, again, what Biden is doing is really pulling back the worst excesses, extremes of the Trump administration and bringing it back to essentially foreign policy under Obama, which again, as I pointed out, during the Obama administration, I felt was problematic. And so going back to that normal, I don't think is a good thing. I think it ends up being what we often call polite imperialism. Okay? As a leftist, I'm wholly against imperialism of any stripe, because again, it tends to kill or exploit people in other countries for American gain, for, you know, the gain of like corporations, for example. And so pointing out how it's wrong under any president, whether it be a Democrat or Republican. Republican administrations tend to have even more ghoulish type of foreign policy, foreign policies or foreign policy goals. Under Democrats, it's not been great either. And so both parties tend to be imperialist when it comes to their foreign policy objectives, and that's not good. I think foreign affairs, and the reason that we don't do a lot about it is I think that foreign affairs, are something that not a lot of Americans tend to think about. So that's unfortunate, because I think this needs to be involved in the broader conversation, especially now that the danger of Trump is basically over. We should try not to be the danger in the world, at least in those developing parts of the world, in places like South America, places like the Middle East and things like that. We should not prop up right-wing dictatorships in those areas, just because they're corporate friendly and friendly to America, or like enforce sanctions that tend to harm people, as opposed to actually harming corrupt world leaders that do go after and harm their own citizens. And so we really need to have a conversation about how to do better foreign policy that doesn't, continue the stain of American imperialism. And it is quite disappointing, unfortunately, to see the Biden administration, their normal, go back to basically that. All right. Oh, crap. All right. So I don't know. I've got this story that's actually really good, but it's gonna take a long time to get through. So maybe I'm just gonna save that to Monday. Yeah, it's gonna take a long time. So that's what we're gonna do. We're just gonna save that till Monday, and do a hard out here after that story. I'm sorry to leave it on such a dire note, or down note, but it is what it is. Progressive NCO here makes a comment here. Missed the mark in Venezuela. Guaido was essentially the leader of Congress, and after an election where there was actual fraudulent election, where Maduro won, Guaido declared void and demanded the poll be run again. It was still more of a coup attempt. And again, if you're, I'm not in support of coup attempts, and I'm not, especially ones that are, I'm very wary of CIA-backed coup attempts in South American countries, because we've seen that happen before. And we've seen what the result of that is. And we also know what Guaido's for, and what he's in favor of. I'm not exactly a fan of Maduro, but I just think we shouldn't be involved in those other countries in the way that we are, and support these kind of coup attempts. But that's just my opinion on that. Leftists aren't fans of Biden, but it beats having Trump around. True. All right. Oh, hey, I believe I have some super chats here to read from you all. Fifi LaRue says, feel sorry for Trump. He moved into government housing after the black family moved out, and now he's broke and homeless. Sad. Baby. And then Starch Tech, this is for you.
Dumps. Big, massive dumps.
Okay. All right. Fun times. Jumped in because of your title, BTS Army. If you already covered the K-pop stand rally activism, I want to make a few things very clear. Shoot, I'm here for it. What you got? Before and while I wait for that, I do want to thank Tempadan for giving gifting a tier 1 sub. That's awesome. Let's see. Also, thank you for the 100 biddies. Much appreciated. And all the new follows. So thank you so much. Did I hear about Mira Furlan? She passed away. I did. Very, very sad. She was only 65. Very young. Wow. Not like very, very young, but young. I would say that's very young. Yeah, it's sad. It is sad. For those of you who don't know, she was an actress, a Croatian actress, actually, on Babylon 5. And her character, I mean, she had lived through, the breakup of Yugoslavia. And then actually came to America. She was a theater performer, I believe. And she'd gotten a lot of threats during that time, prompting her to, of course, move over to the United States, do acting there. And a lot of her performance, I mean, you could see that heart from her when she was doing those performances. Like, it was something that was very personal for her because I believe it reminded her of that time. So again, it's an incredibly sad news to hear. She was an amazing actress. I really admired her work. She was also in Lost, though I didn't watch a lot of that. But yeah, I mean, that's really, really sad. Okay. Anyway, let's see. Anything else? Let's see. You just want to leave us for the serfs? All right. So I'll have to look more into the Imperial story. But anyway, thank you all for going on the Nation Meet today. Much appreciated. Excuse me. Got a little bit of a cough now. No, it's not COVID. I'm fine. Just, I need to get something to eat. All right. Anyway, like I said, please like and share the stream if you haven't already. Check out our videos. Share them everywhere that you can. It's much appreciated if you do. I love it. Thank you all. Thanks for the bits. Thanks for the subs. You can help us out by becoming a patron. It's patreon.com/JeffWaldorf. And yeah, all that great stuff. So y'all have a great weekend. We'll see you back here on Monday. Stay safe, enjoy yourselves, wear your masks, all that wonderful stuff. Love you all. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, Nation. See you Monday.
I will eat your ass.
Amazing.
Tolerize. Tighten up my meat. I like my meat tight.
Masturbate all day long.
Big, massive dumps.
Please clap. You're kicking me out the door. You're kicking me out the door.